In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can distort objects so you can use it for things like simulating warp drive or other things, anything that would need to have a distortion put in it. So we're going to start first with some simple things. I'm going to bring in a square and I'm going to put it over here in the bottom left corner. And we're going to make it distort or warp over to the right hand top corner. So there's a few things you have to keep in mind. If something was gonna be going further away from us, it would be getting smaller. That's the first thing. So this is pretty easy to do. All you have to do is just come to the timeline of the square, to add animation. You wanna do a linear one, and secret here is to pick distortion. Once you've done that, we're gonna shrink this down. You don't want it to be too long or it's gonna be too visible. You want it to happen quickly so the viewer sees it happen, but doesn't really understand what just happened. So at the beginning, it's gonna stay just the way it is. At the end, we want it to be in this top corner here, but there's a step in between. It's gotta stretch its way there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click here on Distort. Once we do that, you take this top corner and you bring it up over here. That's where it's gonna end up. That's all you do for the first one. Okay, click on here, you can add another distortion. Now you can do this in one step or two. I'm gonna do it in two steps just to show you the in between. So again, I'm gonna add another distortion. And again, I'm gonna make the easing linear. And again, we're gonna bring this down because we want this to happen rather quickly. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take these two middle points, I'm gonna make an in-between step, like so. And finally, we're gonna add one more animation. Again, it's gonna be linear, and again, it's gonna be distortion, and we're gonna bring, like I said, bring this down. You don't have to worry about the beginning one because the beginning keyframe always takes on whatever happened before it. So the beginning of this keyframe right now that we're gonna work on, it actually looks like this. All we care about is what's gonna happen at the end. So if you bring this up here like so, and like I said, we're gonna make it smaller because we wanna make it look like it's going further away from us. And you bring the rest of them over here and you rebuild your square the way that it was right in the beginning, but much smaller. Okay, so now we're gonna play it, and you can see how that happened. It actually looked like it was stretching itself or going into some kind of a warp. And now you can play with the length of these here, and you can make them longer or shorter depending on how you want the effect. Like I said, you can even remove the middle one altogether. I'm going to delete it here, and I'm just going to do it like this. So it all depends on the effect that you're trying to capture. What are you trying to do? I'm going to do the same thing again, but I'm going to do it with a different object this time. So this time we're going to bring in a object that we're going to draw ourselves. So let's draw something here. I'm going to make another square or a rectangle. It doesn't really matter what the shape is. And we're going to I'm going to remove the border, and I'm just going to bring in, we'll make it pink. And we're going to do the same thing again. You put your first time frame or keyframe rather where you want it. You're going to do add an animation. You're going to do distortion again. Easing is going to be linear. And again, you want to make this happen quickly. You don't want to have it last too long because then the effect is going to get lost. Now we're going to come here. We're going to add another keyframe or another animation. Again, it's going to be linear. And it's going to be another distortion. Now we're going to take all these points and bring them down here, like so. And don't worry about how it looks right now because once you bring all the points, it'll reshape itself correctly. Oh, and I think I messed that up. That's why it's important that you select the last frame. So let's just undo that. Okay, we wanna come as over here to this one. And then once we're in here, we're going to rebuild it again. And it's a good thing that I made that mistake because then I'm sure it's gonna happen to lots of people who watch this video, and this way you'll see how to fix it. And there we have it. So now you see that the 2 objects actually crisscross and create the morphing effect. Okay, so we're gonna delete this, and now we're gonna do it with the USS Enterprise that I used in my video. So let's bring it onto the stage, and I'm gonna shrink it down. We don't need it to be that big. Okay, so basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, and when it gets to the right side of the screen, it's going to disappear. So we're gonna do the same thing again. We're going to add a keyframe animation here. It's gonna be, again, a distortion, and the easing is gonna be linear. The only difference with this one and the one we just did is that this one here, we want it to disappear at the end. So it's actually gonna get smaller to the point where you're not gonna see it anymore. So you click on the distort. We're gonna bring this over here like so. Oops, went a little bit too far there. And then we're gonna add one more here. Linear, distortion. And we're gonna bring these points in here. But as you're gonna see, that it's gonna get much smaller. And here you can see it's happening already. See, by making it stretch, it looks like it's going into warp speed. Last one looks a little bit flat, so I'm going to stretch it out a little bit here like this, just to make it look a little bit more the right shape. Now, all I did was right here, I added was one of the star shapes that was already inside of Create Studio. So I'm going to just type in star and see what we get. I think I used was this one. And it's not going to be on the screen for that long. And we're going to make it small like so. And I'm going to make it white. And I'm going to make it come in as a fade in. So I will do it as a scale. Scale up. And you'll see it looks like it disappeared, but actually didn't, just because I need to stretch this out to bring this back here. And then I'm going to add an out as a scale down. I'm going to make that really small as well. Bring that over here. So it's going to scale up and scale down immediately. Oh, I think I lost it. Let's do out. Be careful not to hit it up against the other one. There we go. And now we got to make it disappear right here. And there you go. That's the general idea. I would probably do a little bit more work on the star and that type of thing like I did in the original video, but I think you get the idea of how this works. So doing it in slow motion here, you can see that you stretch it out and then you kind of rebuild it again and bam, it's gone. You can do something similar now as well with some of the superheroes. Let's say you want to have a superhero running quickly. I do it a little bit different. The stretch doesn't work well with that. So the way I do that is, let's see, I'm going to bring in a character. Let's see this guy over here. And if I wanted to have him running quickly across the screen, the way I would do that is I would actually I would capture his image like so. And then I would paste it back in here like so. So let's say, for instance, he's going to start running around here. So I'm going to bring this onto the timeline here. And again, as before, you don't want it to last on the screen for that long because you don't want people to see what's happening. It's just going to be a flash. So you match it up like this. For the time that he's on the move, you're going to do this. So basically, he becomes a blur. And I even add a little bit of a blur to him. Let's just do this here like this so we can actually get to it. I'm going to add a blur to him like so. Well, there you have it. That is how you can add the warp effect to your objects in Create Studio. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.